I'll call the meeting to order.
Yes, would everybody stand for the invocation? Albert Einstein said, "Learn from yesterday, live for today, hope for tomorrow." May we learn from yesterday's mistakes and challenges. Tonight, we live in the moment, taking joy in our meeting, and may we increase in hope for our speeches of tomorrow through the helpful support and learning that we receive tonight. Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and for the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Commissioner LeBlanc present.
Commissioner Branhurst present.
Commissioner Gardner present.
Commissioner Gleason present.
Commissioner Becker present.
We do have quite a bit of citizen participation tonight. The only one that's not regarding the education center is Mr. Mazzotta, is that right?
That's Mazzotta.
Mazzotta. Would you
What do I do?
take the podium down? All right.
Hello, how's everybody doing today? Nice to see everybody. I just want to introduce myself real quick. I'm TJ Mazzotta, everybody. I'm running for Anastasia Mosquito Control, Seat 1. And I'm doing so because over the course of the past few months, I have learned that some of the money that is allotted for this program isn't being spent accordingly. A little over budget spending on things that we shouldn't be spending on, and we'll try to clean that up. So, Anastasia Mosquito Control, Seat 1, TJ Mazzotta, prior military, and I care a lot about doing the right thing and helping people and making everybody happy, working for the people. So, hopefully you guys will look into me and vote for me in November. I appreciate it. Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Madam Chairman,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Man needs to obviously know that you can't campaign on these grounds out here,
Yeah, it's against.
and so you need to correct that from now on. He needs to be notified of that. He can't hand out cards. I'm Gary Howell, I live at 170 Harvest Lane. So he just needs to understand how to do his campaigning and not here. Okay?
Thank you.
It's the rules.
I appreciate you
Thank you.
straightening me out on that. Thank you, Commissioner Howell, or former Commissioner Howell. All right. Call for the approval of the agenda, additions, corrections, and deletions.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Brandhurst? All in favor?
Aye.
No one opposed? All right. Calling for approval of the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
All right.
Second.
Commissioner Brandhurst seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
No one opposed? All right. Ms. Klein, you're up.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. I'm happy to be here again in front of all of you, and I appreciate your time. And I'm here to present the annual financial report for the Anastasia Mosquito Control District for the year ended September. Okay. Just make sure I'm, okay. One of the letters that you have that's not part of the actual bound report is the communication with those charged with governance. There are certain matters to be communicated. Many of you have been on the board for a while, but there's always someone new, so I kind of just go over briefly what the report contains. We define the responsibilities of management and ourselves, the plan, scope, and timing of the audit. If there were any significant audit findings, which includes the ones that are listed, and there were none to be reported. And that letter was in your board books, but is separate from the actual audit report. The annual financial report is prepared by your staff, and with the assistance they received from me is adjusting journal entries that may be necessary to have the financial statements be in conformity with GAAP. You received an unmodified opinion, which means your financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position and changes in financial position for the year ended September 30th, 2023, in accordance with U.S. generally accepted accounting principles. The first part of your report, I always tell any board member, and especially the new ones, if you're going to read anything in the report, you should go over the management's discussion and analysis. What is it's kind of like the executive summary for what's to come in the rest of the financial statements. It's an overview and discussions from the staff of how things looked for the 2 years. It has financial highlights, an overview of the financial statements, condensed financial information for 2023 and 2022, the previous fiscal year, the analysis of significant budget variations and capital assets. The condensed statements of net position are in there, and these are the condensed statements of net position. Your net position increased by $3 million over the last year, approximately, 2.2 over the last 2 years. The reason this slide is put in there is last year it was even more evident because the deferred outflows related to pensions, deferred inflows related to pensions, and the net pension liability, which is in the non-current assets, are the numbers that are related to the FRS pension. Last year, they moved some stuff around from deferred inflows to pension liability, so the numbers changed pretty drastically between 2021 and 2022. They look a little bit more consistent this year, but on the next page of my slides, I explained to you a little bit more about the GASB 68 accounting for the financial reporting of pensions. And it's pretty difficult to understand, but it'll help you somewhat in determining, it didn't change between the 2 years very significantly. And I'm not going to go into this whole slide unless you decide you need me to. The condensed statements of activities between the 2 years, this is usually what people are more interested in, it's always your P&L. The balance sheet is strong and good, but they want to know how did the money come in and go out. That's what everybody's always concerned about. So in 2023, our revenues were increased by $900,000. Our expenditures increased by $900,000 pretty much, and our change in net position was pretty much the same as the previous year, and it was still an increase in net position. The analysis of significant budget variations in the management's discussion and analysis is explained a little bit here. The personal services and benefits went up, and it was research and seasonal staff budgeted, but not required. There was a variance the other direction, so they weren't required. Operating expenses, we still put that $200,000 of aerial spraying in there, and of course no costs were incurred because no services were needed. The fuel prices variance was related to two things. It would be the amount that we use the truck, and I know we also this last year, the aerial program was a little more active than it had been in the previous year. So again, that's what was kind of going on there. And the budget is usually, let me caveat this by saying the budget is usually prepared based on an above average, because we can't tell what's going to happen with the mosquitoes. So a lot of the operational costs are based on a little bit of above average year because of two things. Your fiscal year ends in hurricane season, September 30th. We don't get any revenues for the following fiscal year until late November. So it's always a way to make sure there's a cushion in case, because if it's going to get active, there's a good chance that that's when we're going to be active and it's going to get busy, and we're going to need funds to fight the mosquitoes at that time.
Okay, can you go back?
Sure.
Okay, last bullet on the private
Oh, sorry.
capital.
I'm sorry.
So you glossed over that one. You don't have any findings in the auditor's report. And it was interesting, you and I had a quick conversation. You said, no, that was because the district was given permission to continue the contracts that they had when Compass was allowed to go. That was not the case. I actually have the minutes and actually have the resolution in front of me. Or the,
So the district told staff to stop construction on the facility, from what you're telling me.
the district said, and I quote, and I'm reading right from the motion, or allow AMCD staff to hire the necessary contractors and complete the scope of work removed from the Compass contract. Commissioner Becker asked if this was so that staff can put out an RFP. Chairperson Moeller said it would be an RFQ, which is request for quotes.
Right, I understand.
No, I'm just explaining
sorry.
for others. And asked Mr. Weaver if he would be bringing forth RFQs. Mr. Weaver said staff would put out RFQs. He felt this was okay and pointed out the board policy was the board made policy and can do what it wants. By the way, we are governed by not only our own procurement policies, but we're also
I
governed by
understand.
state
I know
policies.
that. I'm aware of that.
Okay? So we can't just really make up our own procurement policies.
I
on the
understand
fly.
that. When did this, what meeting are you reading your minutes
February
from?
10th, 2022.
Okay,
That was the board meeting that happened.
Okay.
And that motion passed. So the board did not say, maybe emphatically stop all work, but they said, go find the vendors and bring us forth RFQs. I have spent the last week reviewing the last 3 fiscal years. If I were to agree that the entire project didn't have to be bid out, but maybe they could do it in components, there is 1, 2, 3 for fiscal year 22 to 23 that are above the RFP requirements. There's another 3 in 22, 23. There's 257,000.
I don't look at every transaction. You
No,
are
I
aware of
know
that,
you
are
don't,
not?
but
I mean,
I'm-
I cannot look at every
I
transaction.
understand you don't look at every transaction, but I'm bringing it up because you commented that we gave them authority to continue.
I did
doing-
not say that. I said it was my understanding that they were to continue moving forward with the contract.
Well-
And the contract was finally, and I'm sorry, I don't remember exact dates on when Compass was terminated and we had to move forward. I do know that there was some issues with the building that they needed to be fixed.
I'm the new one on the board. I've been
Okay,
trying to piece this
okay.
together for 6 months.
Okay, I understand that, and I do not look at every transaction. I
I
will
know
say
you
that.
test, you test,
So,
but.
I do test, yes.
But if you're testing and and I'm just, please, I'm not putting you on the
It's
spot.
okay, and I
If you're
may
being
have-
told that one thing and something else was actually what happened, then you're testing against an assumption that says that go ahead forth and keep the current contracts in place. That's what I'm trying to differentiate between, because I'm not blaming you. If you
Oh, it's okay, it's fine.
If you were in the assumption that you're testing against, oh, we're just going to proceed with the contracts that are in place, which is hard to believe because the contract was with Compass, and Compass had the contracts with the other vendors.
I was under the assumption, and I do read through the minutes. You're talking February 22, I may have misunderstood, misinterpreted, whatever the case may be, that piece, when I read through them. However, I was under the assumption that because we were this far into the contract, they were to put things together to continue the contract. I did not look for individual contracts. I did not know that they were supposed to go back with all the artistic work and do individual contracts. I did test and know that those contractors that were here, except for maybe the ones that did the roof, and again, I don't test every transaction, except for the ones that had to do the mitigation for the poor work on the leaking and the roof and all that kind of stuff. I did know that most of the other contractors that were large were continuing under the previous contract. And I had seen nothing that told me that that wasn't what the board had wanted.
I'm trying to get the termination of that contract, because I have never seen a contract that you terminate that allows you, that nothing else terminates with it. Those contracts with those subcontractors were with the GC and the subcontractor. So I don't understand how we could have possibly been able to continue a contract without a new contract.
Those contracts were also they were artistic type of services. And I can't say this for sure, but I'm not sure the board would want to start from ground zero where these people had already.
They hadn't
Had
started.
already-
They had not started. In 22, they had not started. I have the accounting, they had not started.
They had not started they had been, because they
I
were
can
getting
tell
paid
you.
under Compass.
Yeah.
If they had been paid through Compass.
I can tell you. You know why? Because on the February 10, 2022 meeting, Compass said, I can't start that part of the work. We can't start that part of the work because we don't have designs. So how can it come, design?
I am not familiar with the entire contract, so you cannot
Okay,
ask me
so-
those questions
so-
because I do
so-
not do construction.
I'm not going to I'm going to move on and
Okay.
finish your report.
Okay.
I'm just saying that there is discrepancies. And if you go back to the board minutes that now, I've posted now on the website, not the minutes, but the actual video,
Mhm.
you will see that the Compass person and representative said, we couldn't do this because we don't have designs. So there's no way artistically they could have done any work if they didn't have the design or the media content or any of that.
I'm not
It's in
sure.
the video.
I'm not sure about that. I cannot answer
Don't
those
shake your
questions.
head, it's in that video.
I cannot answer those questions because I know that they were the ones that, from what I had seen, they were the ones that were under the Compass contract.
Okay.
And I assumed that the board
If
was
somebody
continuing
can
that
give me
because
the
I
contract-
hadn't seen anything that told me any different.
If somebody can get me the contract and the termination of that contract, I would really appreciate that. Thank you.
I can't do that yet.
Not you, I'm just looking to Ms.
Okay. These are the capital asset acquisitions for the year. And now we get to the financial statements. The financial statements are made up of the government-wide financial statements, which are your statement of net position and your statement of activities. These are financial statements that are more like, and I'll go to the next slide because it tells you. The government-wide financial statements include your capital assets and your depreciation. They accrue compensated absences and sick time, and they have the net pension liability, deferred inflows, and deferred outflows of resources related to the pension. The other set of financial statements behind the government-wide financial statements are your fund financial statements. They're kept on the traditional way that governments have always done their accounting, which is more of a cash flow. It's called modified cash, but it's a cash flow basis. It's what your budget is based on. You do your budget based on your fund financial statements, not the government-wide financial statements. In fund financial statements, your net assets are shown as capital, as not an expense, an expenditure. Your capital outlay is shown as an expenditure on your fund financial statements and then converted into an asset on your government-wide financial statements. You also have the notes to the financial statements and your required supplementary information. Net position is your net equity in the government-wide financial statements. And the net position consists of your investment in capital assets, which is the cost of your assets less depreciation, less any debt. And then you have unrestricted net position. Fund balance is in your fund financial statements. And the fund balance is divided into non-spendable for inventory and prepaids, restricted, which is outside restrictions, which we no longer have, but they were state funds or other funds, assigned for future capital outlays and contingencies, which are board designated, and then there's unassigned, which is available for whatever operations we need during the year. Your statement of activities, this is a 3-year comparison because I think there's a lot to be found when you look at a 3 to 5 year period, and if I put a 5-year period on here, you wouldn't be able to see it. So, but over the last few years, you can see our revenues have increased. Personal services have increased 100 and a couple 100,000 the last few years. Benefits have increased. Now, in your personal service benefits, since these are the government-wide financial statements, that includes the data related to the FRS pension. So that number is really high. It's not monies that we've actually all paid out, but it's also includes the adjustments for the FRS.
Ms. Klein,
Yes.
which one was that? Sorry.
What was that?
Which one was that? The personal service?
The personal service benefits includes the numbers and the adjustments that you have to make for the FRS pension. Operating expenses have remained pretty steady. Insurance has gone up. Travel and utilities has increased over the last few years. I think some of that, is that where training is? It might be trainings in there. There were during the 2021 year, we were just getting back from COVID. Everything else pretty much is flat. Materials and supplies are up a little. And chemical uses is up a little, because of the fact is the dye balm, I believe, that we're using, and there wasn't as much put in inventory. So chemicals and solvents increased this last year. But again, our bottom line hasn't changed a whole lot over the last few years.
So most of the revenue is being driven by property values going up.
Oh, yes, because we've been diligent in trying to keep the millage flat or reduce it slightly. So
Do you
we
know
haven't.
where we would have to be millage-wise to keep the same revenue so that we don't just do?
You would have to do those calculations when the trim comes out in
Okay.
order to determine that. And those will be calculated through trim.
When is that coming out, Scott?
July.
Yeah, right before,
July.
the fourth, it's about June 30th, somewhere around there.
Okay, thanks.
Trim is also doing a lot of PowerPoints if you wanted to understand the whole process.
I
a little
know,
bit more
I
too.
just didn't know what date.
Yeah. And again, like you said, revenues are up because of the property values. Grant funding was down a little. Personal services are up with COLA increases and some additional employees. Personal service benefits are up, additional employees, FRS and the HIS adjustments, which I had mentioned earlier. Insurance is up with rate increases, and travels and utilities and services up. Utilities are up a little bit. I have mentioned before too that I think we've almost completed construction on everything. So our focus is now going to be on what monies do we need to pay for the utilities and the operation and the maintenance of the properties now, since the construction is going to be completed. On your internal control, there were no compliance violations, no significant deficiencies or material weaknesses, and no significant control deficiencies.
When you say control deficiencies?
Control deficiencies mean that within the day-to-day operations and the financial operations, there's oversight within the staff to, like, you do chemical inventories. You buy all the chemicals, you do inventories every month. Those inventories are then compared to the usage to make sure that there's no chemicals that are being lost, stolen, thrown away. You take an annual asset inventory of all your vehicles. Scott can't sign checks. You have controls over who's cutting the checks and who's signing the checks. So it means that one person doesn't have, not to say if there wasn't collusion or fraud, no one, your controls are strong and no one has the opportunity.
So another control would be somebody's reviewing to ensure that we're in compliance with procurement policies.
If
correct?
that's what you felt was necessary, then yes. But I think the instance that you're talking about is an unusual and single incident. I think that's what you're referring to, because in the day-to-day operations, in purchasing the trucks and everything else that I've ever seen done, that's all followed. So I think we're talking about a very unusual situation, and that's what's caused your frustration and your angst. So,
Yeah.
Other than that and everything else they buy, I have never run into an issue where bids weren't taken and all that kind of stuff. So I think it's more that the policy wasn't followed is what I should have said. But I think this is more because of the unusualness of the situation, it's created some issues that you feel need to be dealt with. This pie chart is done on the fund financial statements, not the government-wide. And as it hasn't changed a whole lot from the prior years. If you pull out the other financial statements from prior years, our percentages of what each type of expenditure is for the year, pretty much, the pie is pretty much staying the same. The one that's going to change really big, because the big one is the capital outlay. We're going to see that probably reduced a lot here in
Is
the
that
next
the
fiscal
blue?
year. I'm sorry?
Is that like blue?
The
and brown?
dark green on the far side is the capital outlay.
Okay, I can't really see the
colors.
legends. I can see the colors of the legends.
Sorry, but on the bottom, it tells you the percentages, so that's where you can kind of get a better idea, because capital outlay right now is 42.5%, personal services is 24.76, so the right quadrant, upper right quadrant is personal services. The one below that, I do believe, is the personal service benefits. Capital, and that's, now that I'm looking at the chart on the bottom, if you go across and then go down each one, it kind of goes around this way. So capital outlay being the last one is your far left-hand quadrant.
Okay.
And again, this is what we were just talking about, is some of the things I've always said to remember. I thought that we'd be through that construction of this project and that we'd actually have more outlay and maintenance, but I see we're still tying up a few things. And of course, you've got the other building that's now, well, now it is, as of the end of the year, it's still, we hadn't gotten our CO on it either, so I don't know. I believe I heard now that we're able to get into it now. So it's going to be different when we're no longer doing construction, and then we're now just, switching gears and maintaining everything and moving forward with the operational side of
So
everything.
I have a question for you, because I know you have a hard stop. You have to get to
Thank
the
you.
comma. If we were to produce something that said, not your assumption, what you thought we were operating under for that facility was different than what you assumed or were told when you did the audit, would you need to go back and revise, look at it again, and test?
No, I wouldn't have to test anything.
You wouldn't have to test
I
anything?
wouldn't have to test anything. It would just have been a comment.
Okay.
That's all it would have been. It would have been a comment.
So you would-
It's not going to change the numbers at all, because the
It would
numbers
change-
are
Yeah,
what
it
they
is
are.
what it is, but
Right.
you would have to make some sort of commentary.
There would be a
on the-
comment that was saying that there was a procurement issue on one project, on
Okay,
one
I'll
item.
follow up with you after
That's
later,
fine.
at a later time.
That's fine.
Thank you.
You will need to,
Would you have to amend it, though? It's not,
No,
is it?
no.
Is this submitted to the state?
yes.
So if you had to make a modification or a comment in the report?
We'd probably resubmit.
Okay.
And again, it's an internal control comment, and we'd have to go from there with it.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
That is everything. If you have any questions or you need to contact me, that is my contact information. I appreciate working with you and your staff. There's a lot of good things going on here. I know that the district's mission is to eradicate mosquitoes, to educate, and I think you have something to be proud of here. And for the most part, except for this thing that seems to have been a difficult thing for everybody because it hasn't gone the way that anybody planned on it to go, you just need to move forward and do the best you can. So thank you so much. I need you to approve and accept the report so that Scott can send it to the state and take care of the other reports that need to go to them. And have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, Ms. Klein.
Thank you,
But
Diane.
approve the report with potentially changing it at some point.
That's fine.
Okay.
That's fine.
Thank you.
Yeah. But it's
If
got to
it
be
needs
approved so it can
changing,
go
We
forward.
don't have anything.
No,
in
if you
stone.
change it, it would just be, it would be
You have a
reissued.
report
It would be
issue.
a reissued report.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
so much. Mr. Howell?
Madam Chairman, my name is Gary Howell. Live at Harvest Lane, St. Augustine, Florida. Former commissioner, can you hear me?
Wait till that goes.
Oh, okay.
Now,
I didn't know, and I got it plugged up here on the side myself, I get on here. In 1996, I was a candidate for mosquito control, and I came through those doors over there, and when I came in, I had no copies of nothing about the audit, any kind of reports or anything else. I understand you have a candidate over here. We're sitting out there in the blind. I know most of these people are sitting out there in the blind. At least we ought to have a few copies sitting over there so that we can pick those up and we can look at them. I'd like to make that recommendation to the board to have Dr. Shu see that that gets taken care of. So I'd appreciate it.
They're all online on the
No.
website.
I think I have some manual copies that.
Excuse me, I didn't quite, you said they were online. Is that what you
Not yet.
said? You have a copy?
I think there's some manual copies.
Would you
of-
get it?
Yeah.
I hate to be this way, but would you go get it and bring it to me so I can have it? I mean, that's what you're telling me. You should have copies here already.
yeah, they don't post it, they don't post it.
Anyhow, that's all I got to say, Madam Chairman.
Yeah.
Scott, you don't really have to get that. I get
Oh, okay, you sure?
that.
All right,
Thanks.
so we need to vote on accepting the, is that correct? Yes. Yes, okay. Do we have a motion to accept Ms. Klein's audit?
Motion.
All right, Commissioner Brandhorst,
I'll second.
all right. All in favor? Opposed? Commissioner Gleason opposed? Mr. Hannah, would you like to give us the financial report, please?
Good evening, Scott Hanna, Anastasia Mosquito Control District CFO. Going over the current financial statements, the treasurer's report for April. If you look at the top number, these are the dollar amounts, the ending balance for each of the bank accounts, starting with Wells Fargo, $1,484,743. The Wells Fargo sweep account, that's $5,118,523.90. SBA, in round numbers, 5.8 million, and Bank of America, 213,677. Then the next category down are the sources of income. We had a smaller amount of tax levies. At this point, they start coming a little more sporadically. So that's 13,339. We get the big bulk of the revenues the first 4 months out of the year, actually starting November. So like starting the second month of the fiscal year. Return on investment for the SBA, or I'm sorry, the Florida Prime is $26,313, and that was as an annualized APR, that's 5.52%. The sweep account is performing slightly less, but it's we did that to diversify, and that's $25,014.23, and that's 5.17%. And both of those are in a money market type of fund, which is government compliant. Grant money, we had no revenues that came in this particular month, but the last months before and after have been pretty fruitful. A little bit more workshop admissions, and some of those are after the processing fees, $472.33. We brought in a total of close to $21,000 for the workshop. Dormitory rent, and that's after some processing fees, $952.13. And then the DBEC Center, we actually have some concession sales, which I'm sure are going to get larger. That's $403.33.
Excuse me, Mr. Hannah.
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Becker has a question.
Sure.
Did you say we made $21,000 on the workshop?
Yeah, that's what the gross revenues were.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah. And then in some years, we used to present it where the vendors that we paid to do the food, we would get the money in and then we'd pay it back out. So this, we're doing it's better now because they're directly paying like Stalvy's and some of the vendors that do the food. So I think that's working out better.
Scott,
And then,
Scott.
yes, ma'am.
So So reserves are about 10.9 million, is that correct? Is the Wells Fargo account investment and then
That's what's
Florida
currently in
fund?
the operating account.
or is that the operating?
That's the operating account.
So-
Reserves are kind of subjective. That's something you kind of assess at the year end, like what's actually really your reserves.
So what are we running right now, reserves?
Um,
It's not,
Reserves, that's kind of a measurement number. I'd have to take the current operating expenses. That's something I'd have to
do I
get,
have financials, do I have P&L here?
um,
Or,
actually, you've got, yes, and it's the March one because we always close out a month 30 days later. So you've got in the side pocket of your book, that's your P&L, which is fund financial basis, which is like cash flow.
it's cash flow.
Yeah, yes.
Looking for,
And this time I did a summary where it's all condensed down. And then the next one has the detail, because this is what DAX looks at, are all these main categories. All the subcategories are more for internal budgeting purposes, which are the next pages following. That's that front page all expanded out.
So I'm just gonna make it simple.
Sure.
We have $12,641,000 in the bank.
Okay,
Our operating expenses, at least for March, were $498,000.
yes, ma'am.
So if we say we're covering expenses,
Yes,
we're probably in the 10 million revenue. I mean, 10 million surplus position.
May I
Or,
answer the question?
sorry, it's not surplus, reserves.
well,
Chair, may I answer the question? Answer the
Yeah,
question?
go ahead, I'm sorry.
My head.
Yes, most of the expenses is summertime, just from May, June, July, August, September, 5 months. So that's the cost of each month, about $600,000, depending on weather. I believe end of September, we may carry around the 6 million reserve to next year.
Okay, so if I take the year-to-date, or the,
okay.
it's March year-to-date, that's 3.7, we're at 12.6. So that still has,
Okay, so, well, the treasurer's report is based on the month of April. That goes through the end of April. Where the financial, you're mixing, you're talking balance sheet,
yeah,
which
I'm
is
trying to
cash,
figure out what the reserve
versus
level is.
P&L. And so those things can't totally be intermingled.
This is the problem I'm having every month, okay?
Yeah.
I can't get numbers to coincide with each other.
I mean, I'd love to meet and we could go over, and, yeah, like after
We're
the,
talking about this every month.
next week, I'm available the whole week if you
Well,
pick
not
the
here
time
next
that,
week.
oh, okay. Or, that's right, you'll be in DC.
Yeah,
Or after that, whatever's good for you.
okay.
Um, Any other questions on the treasurer's report? And sorry if it doesn't look like I'm answering your
No,
questions.
just
Some of it's so
financials
complicated.
shouldn't be this difficult, really, it should not be this difficult.
And ours, believe it or not, are simpler than, say, if you looked at the county, you just see, I
No,
mean,
I
just
understand financials.
columns, yes.
I'm just saying that I have this for a month in the rears, then this is in, and
Sure.
I know that there's a way to do this because I've done it. To
Sure.
put it- And for me to be able to say what my reserve levels are for the
Well,
month,
the
even
budget,
if it's an estimate.
okay, I mean, the budget book's coming out next month. You'll have that, actually will be delivered at the end of this month. And that front page is a real good summary that shows how the budget, the cash flow, and the cash amounts all tie together. It's kind of like, almost like a flow chart. So that'd be a good thing to look at. I can email you that too.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other treasurer's report questions? Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Becker.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the budget amendment to send to the state.
Okay, did we go over the budget amendment? We just did the front of it. We haven't reviewed what he's doing with where he's putting the money.
This is treasurer's, and then the budget amendment comes right after that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
I do like the fact that we're expeditiously getting both
Well,
done at the
I
same
thought we were
time.
done.
I love it.
All right.
Do you want me to move on to the
All right,
budget
so-
amendment, or do you have to do
Does
that?
anyone have any other
Any other-
questions on the budget? No? Yes?
We're gonna move on to-
Let's move on to the amendment.
Okay.
All right.
The last few months, there weren't a lot of questions on the budget amendment. So this month, We've got interest earnings, which is actually return on investments. There was a surplus beyond the original budget, because when we passed this budget, we don't know what the Federal Reserve is going to be doing with the interest rates, and who would anticipate that the rates would be that high. So we're 51,000 more in interest return on investment for the month. And that, coupled with some of the other smaller miscellaneous refunds and other sources, those are little small things like tire, salvage things. When you add that all together, that gave us $53,515, which we need to amend the expenses to. But we didn't have enough to quite cover the cold room budget amendment. That's where we were going with it this month. This is the approval for the SIT cold room addition for $140,000.
Show us the resolution we passed last.
Yes, yes, but I mean, as far as the funding, the difference now comes out of contingency, which is the $86,484, which is on that front page. We have $895,000 in contingency for amendments or unforeseen items, and so that $86,000 that came out of there, and then the other $53,515.19 came out of the overage on the income at the top level, and the whole amendment's $140,000.
Very good. Does anyone have any questions about the budget amendment? Do we have a motion to approve the budget? All right. Do I have a second? Commissioner Brandhurst? All in favor?
So
No one-
do I need to remove my prior motion?
Well, yeah, we tabled that until we talked about the amendment, right?
I think we tabled it,
Yeah, so.
Okay.
Do we need a, I don't think we need, we don't need a second.
We just had a motion and a second to approve the budget amendment.
Yes,
Yes.
okay, okay. So we're all set. Thank you so
I
much.
appreciate it, sure.
Appreciate it.
So the vote.
Dr. Shu?
Yeah, okay, thank you.
I don't think we took a whole vote.
Yes, you did. Did you take the whole?
I
vote?
never raised my hand.
Oh,
I'm sorry. Well, I said all approved and I thought you,
Oh, okay.
I'm, all right, unless you were, okay.
I'm gonna tell Hal where the audit thing is on our website. Yeah, that's approved.
Yeah, thank you.
Dr. Shu?
Oh, thank you, yeah. Yeah, when I started direct administration job, at that time, we had 37 full-time with 4 stations. So after we gradual centralization, then cutting full-time staff, technician, and we lost, it was 25, then the 27. 2022, we asked about increase the 5 position because counting growth, population growth double, and several requests increase. Also, the mosquito species breeding size a little bit changed. We have more complaint about continuing breeding mosquito in the neighborhood, or the stone drain mosquito. So that's why we need more technician service. Also, the traffic will get more problem. So not like before, easy to drive, now it's difficult to drive and see the traffic. So I would like a request about increase staff and from 32 to 35, actually it's 3 more increase for next budget year. Then we look at what's happening, gradual increase.
I have
All right.
which one you want?
Go ahead, Commissioner Gleason.
Okay, last time we talked, and I thought you had said there were 3 full-time employees being hired, but one was gonna be an entomologist, one was gonna be for the DVC, and I don't know what the other one was supposed to be for, but now we're saying 3, I mean, I'm happy that it's 3
Yeah.
technicians, but,
Entomologist, there was,
Those
in
from the
last
grant.
budget year, we had already.
okay, so this is
That's the
really
most of first
ground
recognition.
operations?
Yes.
Okay,
Very good.
okay, thank you. No, I'm sorry, I'm just gonna scare myself with that, like,
Commissioner Becker, did you have a question or comment?
Well, I wanted to ask, it was the 5 people are all for technician positions?
Included, yeah.
Oh, great.
okay.
All right.
Need a
I'll
motion.
make the motion to approve,
And can
One more comment from Commissioner Gleason.
I just want to say, just for the people in the audience, the county grew, so we need ground operations. That is our core operations. That's what we do as a core. So that's why I was trying to get the clarification, that these were ground people. Thank you.
I mean, you don't think we have extra that we could hire more, or we don't have,
We-
we couldn't get enough people last year?
Yeah, we seasonal, we are no limit, depend the need, yeah.
How much more would it be if we approved it to be 10 people?
Yeah, I think say if, for budget purpose, relook at the medical rate, what's going on, so that most of the cost was a full-time employee, and salary, benefits, and vehicle, so depend. From my personal proposal, I would like 37 and increase another 5, but look at the budget, I would like to slow down. And next year, look at if we really need it, we can ask about it, back to the board again for next year.
Yep.
To look at the high situation. Currently, I believe the 3 can capable for the work. Because we need a lot of use air capability and doing more manpower start analysis. So it's the
So it's 3 technicians and 2 people for other jobs, or it's 5
no, you go
technicians?
no, those are 3 technicians.
3 technicians.
Yeah.
So-
I actually included other job, include technician, entomologist, and PVC already.
So if we moved it to 5 technicians and then 3 extra people, what would you think about that?
Yeah, currently
Or do you
we
think we could hire
Let's see the
5
numbers.
people?
Also, we have flexible for contract, we have a grant, we have to contract, doesn't need
He
it.
has the numbers behind this.
Right.
With a little flexible, look at it, what's happening. I don't want to see
Well, we
the
can
one
talk
way,
about it,
yeah,
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 right.
we can talk. One way we try to reduce the cost, and one way try to unlimited increase people. We really depend on what we need, because we doing the work, we all depend supervisor, depend what's the responsibility. We feed in board back, feed into the board back as soon as possible if we need.
Okay. Okay, so I'll make the motion to approve the hiring of 5 additional full-time
Is
employees.
it 5 or 3?
Three.
It's 3.
Isn't it
Three.
3.
That says
No,
five.
no, because
That's
it's
the last year we had.
that was
No,
last year.
no, this, yeah.
Okay,
it's
3 new people.
Okay,
Last-
3.
Last year we had 5.
All right,
I'll second that motion.
all right. All in favor? No one opposed? Thank you. Okay, so Dr. Shu,
Okay, thank you.
would you like to start this
Okay,
conversation? Okay,
thank you, appreciate lots of people coming, it's very happy, the opportunity, more people pay attention, mosquito control, very,
yes.
very welcome, thank you, this is my first time seeing many people, employee. This is a 2022 February 10, so the disease vacancy call, vacancy education, the contract was modified with the compact group. Yeah, when we conduct our board approve the concept and went to RFP, we request the 3 proposals. One ask about 4.7 million something, and the other 2 is 2.3 and 2.7, I don't know exact number. Then we have a group with the community, so we have a discussion and look at it. And the compact group that have experiences with build a museum in Tampa, in elsewhere. So also the lowest bidding. So that the community look at it and recommend to the board and they look at the cheapest that one that have experiences. So then the body contract, after start the contract with the Compass group. So that's we use low bidding. So that's after about less than a year, then they have some kind of trouble, so that they want to give up the internal design. That said that you don't have a concept or anything. That's it would depend the concept for RFP, for request for proposal. If no concept, nobody want to know what you want to do and how to give you the price. So that's I believe that time probably is low bidding and under the bidding. So then the business manager, Mr. Richard Weaver, was destined to be in charge of the project, the rest of the work. So those you can see the touch of the lawyer, Mr. Flower, to flick the minutes later. So the above is consistent with your understanding. You will acknowledge that that is the cost by return correspondence. Mr. Weaver will execute the change order, and this issue will be resolved. Then the board meeting 2022 February, and the board authority after long way discussion, so everything on the video on the website, the minutes or everything on the website. AMCD is very open. Everything published in the website except our personal social security number and medical history. Rest everything you found from a website. Yeah, because it's by law request government. Yeah. So the motion that one motion was made allow staff to negotiate and the attorney to review the detailed version of the contract change order there to for remove most media from scope of the reduction in the contract of $63,000 or something returned to AMCD. Everybody knew that $63,000 how to finish internal design. So the other second motion was made to allow AMCD staff to have the necessary contract to complete the scope of work removed from the Compass contract. So that time really we have no idea how much the cost and I believe the mistake was made so that everybody looking for try to cheap. Didn't want to spend the tax money. Then after the end of the day, we spend more money and more headache and the quality that's people complain, the linking that's make an issue. Current situation, no matter what's happening, we need to move on so that we only finish almost 90% internal design, everything. So that's the way we discussed with Mr. Weaver and look at it. We probably need another $310,000 to completely finish the rest of the project. So that's the original scope work, nothing new. Only new things is $46,000. That's for the humidity. Last year, we found some problem, the humidity problem. Then we try to figure out what can we do. Consult the Department of Agriculture, as a museum, try to figure out what's the problem, how can we help, why they're not going to have the problem. Then this year we conducted a quote and look at one company said need about $70,000. That's too much. Then we have to do RFP. So that's anything by our purchase policy over $35,000, and we have to going to request for proposal. So that's the basic idea. Also, I would like to recommend the board, request board to authority staff to spend under $310,000 and finish the project, give a ceiling, and also give the date by end of September. It's too long. I know many reasons, and the COVID epidemic, labor short, it's really lots of problems in the last few years. So that can quickly finish the project, get over the headache. Every time give everybody a nightmare. Second, would like the board, request the board, and award the Climate Innovation Heating and Air Conditioning $46,571 to resolve the humidity problem. We need to quickly solve that problem because since the last 2-3 months, and before March 26th open house and grand open, we have so many price list specimen from Department of Agriculture, from many donations. So we really need to take care about that as soon as possible. This is the new scope of work. So thank you. Any question, anything?
Thank you.
I think we have comments from the community, and I think we'll do that first, and then we'll listen to commissioner comments. So I have 3 cards in front of me. If there's anyone else besides these 3 who want to speak, you need to give us your comment card. Mr. Hedges?
I just have a comment about the Museum Education Center, disease vector, whatever the name is. I'm Richard Hedges. I'm president of the St. Augustine Kiwanis Club, and Kiwanis is known for being a worldwide organization of volunteers helping out the community, especially children. We mentor children through programs like Key Club in the high schools, Builders Club in the middle schools. We also do after-school help with their grades and stuff. And we took a trip, the club took a trip here to go through the museum, and we went through it, and it was very educational, and I might be smarter than a 5th grader now that I've been through that. And I just want to comment that it seems like a state-of-the-art center there, and I don't know what the cost was, and I'm sure it probably cost a lot, but there is a lot of educational things there, and the kids love it because they can go there, they look through the microscope, it shows them the big picture on the screen of this little tiny bug, and so I just want to make a comment that I thought was worthwhile, and I'm glad to be a citizen here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Margaret Batchel?
Hello, I apologize, I'm going to read it. I don't like speaking in front of people, although I am a former teacher. Hello, my name is Margaret Badgelder. I live in the Ponte Vedra Beach area where I've resided since 1998, and I'm here tonight in support of the Disease Vector Education Center. I'm a former national board certified teacher, and I've taught elementary school for over 20 years, and I was a former Girl Scout leader as well. So I'm speaking on this from an educator's perspective. After touring the center, it was obvious to me just how remarkable of an educational experience it offers to a diverse array of school groups, whether they're public school, private institutions, homeschooling, or even Boy and Girl Scout troops. This center provides a rich and immersive learning opportunity for all of our St. Johns County and surrounding area students. As an educator, I unfortunately have seen the emphasis on science education take a back seat, often overshadowed by other subjects. By regulating science to the back burner, we risk stifling curiosity, innovation, and the development of future scientists and problem solvers. This is exactly why this center is so important for our community. With its innovative approach, integrating hands-on learning and interactive experiences is the epitome of what an ideal field trip should be. It provides teachers with an invaluable resource to enhance their students' learning in a fun, enjoyable environment. When I heard there was a little bit of controversy surrounding the center, I really, frankly, was surprised because it seems that a place focusing on viruses and disease-borne illnesses, which are at the forefront of many minds right now, should be applauded wholeheartedly. And if just one child leaves this facility with a new interest and fascination for science, then I think we've done our part as a community. And to think this is right here in St. Johns County. With that being said, I believe that the Disease Vector Education Center is an asset to our community, and as both a former educator and a taxpayer in St. Johns County, I wholeheartedly endorse and support it. And thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
And
so
I
much.
also have a letter from a neighbor who had toured as well, and she had all other neighbors go. So everyone's real excited about it. So I could just give it to
Would you
somebody.
like to read it?
Sure, I didn't know if you'd be tired of my.
I'm sorry, that's the chair's decision.
Would you like me to read it?
Yeah?
Okay, yeah.
If you're saying nice things about us, we want to hear it.
Okay. To the AMCD Board of Commissioners. It is with pleasure that I write this letter of support for the Disease Vector Education Center. As a longtime resident of Ponte Vedra Beach, I am always seeking out new, intriguing projects that enhance our community and the surrounding areas. Imagine my surprise when I learned about a new vector disease education center from one of my neighbors centering around mosquitoes. I was skeptical at first because who actually likes mosquitoes? But this education center made my tour fun, interesting, and exciteful, not only learning about mosquitoes, but many other insects as well. From the mosquito larva eating tank to the virtual helicopter ride to the living beehive, it was a fascinating experience. After my tour, I couldn't wait to share my experience with neighbors and friends. In fact, the only complaint I have is that the word about this facility hasn't gotten out enough. I had an amazing educational experience on my tour that day at a state-of-the-art, one-of-a-kind facility that St. Johns County should not only embrace but be extremely proud of. As a tax-paying resident of St. Johns County, I stand 100% behind this project. Thank you for your time. Amy McKeon, 793 Millstream Road, Ponte Vedra.
Thank you so much. All right, Diane Spoden.
What she said. She's really said it all. Diane Spoden, 7424A1A South. I'd just like to basically echo Margaret's comments. I've been a resident in St. Johns County for 25 years. I'm also a beekeeper here, and I have been keeping bees for 10 years. And I'd like to take this opportunity actually to thank Richard and his team for being so considerate of beekeepers all throughout the county. We hear of horror stories of other states and other counties where they don't get that cooperation and that consideration, and we're very, very lucky to have this team here at Anastasia Mosquito Control. So thank you for that. But the reason I'm here today is to talk about the Education Center. Everybody that I have come into contact with that has been through this facility, which is quite a few, have absolutely raved about it. From the perspective of entertainment, education. The one thing I would suggest to the board and to the team is perhaps get the word out a little bit more. Because once people go through, and it's as Margaret said, when you first hear about Mosquito Museum, how good can that be? But once people go through, they're absolutely blown away. Education, entertainment, and they come away very proud to have that in our county. So kudos to Richard and his team for putting this together, and to you for enabling this vision for us. So try and put the word out. One of the things, I was driving through downtown St. Augustine, and I saw a little official metal road sign saying St. Augustine Distillery. Well, if they can get an official sign, why can't this museum or education center, I beg your pardon? That brings me to another point. The name. When I tell people about this facility, they say, well, what's it called? And then I kind of have to apologize for the name, but still go, it's great. So I don't know if there's any room for perhaps rethinking that disease vector education center, perhaps make it more of a science education center, something like that. And I think that'd do a lot to it. And one more suggestion, if I may, is to get some kind of literature out there. I personally come across a lot of people, I do a lot of bee presentations, and I have a lot of people come through my business. I would love to hand them a nice, glossy, well put together professional piece about the center. We could have it at the Ag Center. We could have it at the Tourist Center. So get the word out, and I think you will get great support for this, and you deserve it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your feedback.
All right, is there anyone else that wants to do community comments? Okay. Yes.
Just to touch off of her comments, for anyone that you know in the audience that is a beekeeper, we have a do not fly list. So if you do grow bees or know somebody that grows bees, make sure to call us so we could put you on the list, make sure your bees are safe. Thank you.
Okay. Now, Commissioner comments. All right, Commissioner Gleason.
Okay. She recognized me first.
We're still here.
Oh,
Yeah, we're still here.
We
So,
haven't-
thank you so much for your comments. And my comments, honestly, I want to tell you, I've been through that museum. I took my grandson, not museum, I'm doing it too. We changed the name. My grandson went through this facility before the Vector Education Center was open. He actually saw the labs, saw the staff, saw the trucks, sat in a real helicopter. He was very excited about that. And he saw the fish. My husband and I went through it when it first got, what do you call it?
Soft opening.
The soft opening.
Yes.
And I will tell you, yes, there's a lot of learning to be done in there. My issue is not with the science. My issue is with how the process was followed in building. This thing was budgeted to be $2.8 million. I cannot get a final number as to where we'll be with this budget. The numbers keeps changing on me. But the last number I heard, it might be 4.5, 4.6. I don't know what the number is going to be. I want to read the actual resolution or motion.
Commissioner Brandhurst had to
Oh,
leave,
I'm
so,
sorry.
yeah. She had told me before he
Okay.
had to leave at 6.
So I'm going to make it quick because a lot has been said about what the prior board approved and did not approve. Ms. Muller's here. Thank you so much for being here. Because I'm going to read what she actually motioned. We keep focusing on the bottom part of the motion, which took the vote, and that is not the motion that was made. So Ms. Mueller said again, allow AMCD staff to hire necessary contractors to complete the work, scope of work removed from the Compass contract. You can see this on the video, by the way, that I've asked them to start adding. They had the minutes, but they didn't have the videos. But you can see you can spend 2 hours watching the video and be very entertained. Necessary contractors to complete the scope of work removed from the Compass contract. What was removed from the Compass contract was $63,000. Remember that when I come back to the numbers. It was $63,000. Commissioner Becker asked if that was so that staff can put out an RFP. Chairperson Mueller said it would be an RFQ. Again, RFQ is request for quotes. And asked Mr. Weaver if it would be an RFQ. Mr. Weaver said he would put out RFQs. He felt this was okay and pointed that the board made policy and can do what it wants. He said the plan was to do a request for quotes and choose the lowest qualified contractor and then ask Mr. Flowers if that was okay. Mr. Flowers responded that would satisfy the procurement requirements. Chairperson Mueller said the board has the right to hire who it wants and do not have to go with the lowest bid per Chapter 388. Commissioner LeBlanc seconded the motion. It passed unanimously. Okay, so that was not continue the contracts that you currently have and go forth. It was basically go and hire the contractors. Richard, please stop shaking your head because I'm reading exactly what the motion said. And it's in the minutes and it's in the video. RAN's AMCD 6.2 competitive bidding requirements says, except for the instances listed in 6.3, you have to get bids for anything 10,000 or above. However, mosquito control districts in the state are also subject to the Florida Statute 287 and 255. And by the way, I am reading this right off another mosquito control district procurement policy, and we are subject to the same laws because I checked with an attorney. The purchasing thresholds are based on the categories defined in section 287.017, and if anybody wants copies, I have them here, of the Florida statutes and other definition in 609, 60A Florida Administrative Code. The purchasing categories are the first one, 20,000. This means that if you do anything 20,000 and 20,000 up to 34,999 threshold, you must, the person who's doing the procuring, and in this case, I'm assuming it was either Rudy or Mr. Weaver, has to disclose financial interests every July. If there's any financial interest in the contractor that they contracted with. Category 2 is $35,000. And it says, for commodities and contractual services, solicitations about this amount must be competitively bid. That is also repeated in our procurement policy. Category 3, 65,000 and above, 65,000 to 194,999. For commodities, contractual services, solicitation above this amount must be competitively procured. With limited exceptions, all procurements above this threshold shall have evidence of a written agreement, which, by the way, I've asked if we have a contract, and I've been told we have no contracts, and captures the provisions and conditions of the services. This agreement must be signed by the agency head, which is Mr. Shu. Category 4, 195,000 and up to 324,999. For professional services above this threshold, agency shall require a firm to submit a truth in negotiation certificate. That means that they were, not one person selected them, there was a group of people that actually negotiated this agreement. For contracts in excess of this amount, at least 3 people shall evaluate the proposals and replies or negotiate the agreement. These persons must collectively have specific knowledge and experience in negotiations, procurement, programming, and service requirements. That's what the law says. Category 5, 325,000. Thank the Lord, we haven't gotten there yet for one contract, for one vendor. And by the way, these are fiscal year aggregate spending. And I'll get there in a second. For construction projects by the threshold, the public announcement is required for each occasion when a professional services must be purchased. By the way, I don't even know if the original contract was ever announced to the public. So I went through, everybody says I've been difficult, I asked too many questions, I give the staff too much work to do, but I've been working, I have 2 companies, and I have been working full-time trying to get my head around what's going on financially with this district for the last 6 months. Something that should take 2 weeks to pull together and give me the answers I needed. So I have gone through every board book and a report that I had in March that Mr. Weaver supplied. And for the fiscal year 2022 to 2023, we had 3 contractors working on that facility. One is Artistic Contractors. By the way, you'll be happy to know they did Disney and they do a lot of the big entertainment areas. So that's why it looks so great. We spent that year, Ms. Muller, you'd be happy to know, because that was before December, partly was December. They charged us $54,792. That should have gone out to bid. But the best one for me is 2022 to 2023. I was here part of 2023 and definitely the following year. Artistic Contractors charged us $257,705 in that fiscal year. That's an aggregate spend. And that should definitely be bid out. 23 to 24. Remember, I told you we have no contracts. I was told, unless that's changed, we have no contracts. And then this year, this full year, and I've been sitting on this board, so I can tell you that I haven't seen any of these things. And there's more on this list, by the way. If anybody wants a copy, I have copies. The same contractor, Artistic Contractors, thus far, $106,855. We are over $1.1 million overspend on the education center. They want more money to finish. And I will tell you, the only responsibility I have is the taxpayers, and to make sure that we have oversight over this district. I talked to our attorney earlier. We do not have an audit committee. We do not have anybody that can sit as, and we could appoint an audit committee and appoint, each commissioner has an ability to appoint one person, and it could be from the public that has some financial knowledge to provide that oversight. And we can make this motion, but I would probably lose that motion tonight because this board will not give me that oversight. But I believe in education. Rumors have been spread about me that I want to destroy the district, that I want to kill the education center, that I want to defund the education center, and all I have wanted for 6 months is answers to very simple financial questions. We did not give away the farm when in 2022, the board made a motion to terminate one contract and have staff go look for vendors and come back with RFQs. And I am sorry if people are upset that I'm asking these questions, but that is my job, and it is everybody on this board's job to make sure that dollars are being appropriated appropriately and the policies are being found. Now, before I finish, I want to read you an email, because I did ask for, this is why I don't trust anything anymore, okay? I asked Mr. Shu to give me all emails relating the museum. At first, I thought I was asking about between the board members, but he was kind enough to give me everything, so thank you. And I went through over 200 emails. And this one is from Mr. Weaver to Mr. Shu not too long ago, April 22nd, after I started asking all these questions. Rudy, I will contact Nancy this week and try to get some idea of the budget and timetable. I think it can be done with all the major parts by September 30th, 5 months. We may still be tweaking some minor signage after the end of the fiscal year. The RFP and bid are starting today, but do not need to go to the board if we decide not to take those bids to them. I need the pricing, especially for the shade system. When we do an RFP, it does come to the board. So why would you say, we don't need to take it if we don't want to take it, basically, if we don't care to share it? I have a trust issue right now that I don't trust anybody right now in this administration, because that is insulting. We are supposed to be providing oversight. And you're basically saying in this email, the RFPs and bids are starting today, but do not need to go to the board if because this is between you and Rudy, we decide not to take them to the board. By law, you have to take it to the board. If it's an RFP bid, yes, you do, because that is a capital project. That is not an ongoing operation. So I am sorry if I'm sticking up for taxpayers, and I really do appreciate all your science comments, because it is a beautiful center. A lot of money was spent to make it that way, and students will, if they come, and when they come, they'll enjoy it. But I don't trust anything right now, because this is sad. That 6 months after, I've been working at this for 6 months, my full-time job, and you can nod your head all you want, Richard, but I'm sorry. I've been asking for 6 months. I've been taking a lot of heat from this board because I've been trying to do my job. Thank you.
Does anyone else have comments?
I have one question.
Yes.
Richard, how many hours a week would you say that you work?
Between 55 and 60.
70.
Ah, okay. I'm guessing there's no overtime, right?
Do not get compensated.
Yes, okay. So you have people that are working way past what they should, okay? Because they care about this district. I'm sorry, but that doesn't sound like a person who is not trustworthy.
I was just reading an email he sent. By the way, I have two companies that I run,
That's nice.
and I only get $400, and that's nothing. That's just expenses.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Why not?
Well, can Commissioner LeBlanc finish her comment?
Yeah, are you done with your comments, Commissioner LeBlanc?
Yes.
I'm just curious. Yeah, you're a hard worker. That's great, and the center is probably great. But what does that have to do with not giving bids and work orders to the board? That's their job, is to see that, to approve it. I don't understand what that has to do with that.
You're gonna
Seems
have
like
to
it
give
was
me a
out of
chance to
context.
talk about this, because these two people are lying.
Excuse me?
I just asked a question.
He just called me a liar.
Lying?
Sir,
You're uninformed.
I'm asking a question.
you're calling me a
I'd
liar?
be happy to answer it.
You
Please.
say he's out of,
All right,
can you
all right.
call him out of order? He's just calling me a liar.
All right.
Should we take a minute?
I'm reading an email.
Should we take
Go
a
ahead,
break for a minute?
Mr. Weaver?
This is out of control. This is ridiculous. I should not be treated this way. you're not telling the truth. Yes, I know that email. And those were to try to find prices for some specific things like the HVAC system and a couple other things we were talking about at the time. And yes, sometimes we put out RFQs, we put out bids if it's over 35,000, and then we decide, oh, can we afford to do it? Can we budget for it? A lot of times we do it ahead of time before we even build the budget to see how much it's going to cost. If it is something that the board has asked for and I put it out to bid, it comes back before the board. If it's a actual something we're going to do, it's back.
You can't do that. It's the law says you have to bring it forward.
RFQs do not have to come back.
And
those are under $35,000.
You know how many you have in here that are over $35,000? I can show you.
No, because those are not, you're looking at the total cost for.
No. You have
Yes.
the $39,000 one
Okay.
right in.
You can
You know-
say whatever you want, but that's not true.
Mr.
I do
Weaver,
not
I-
have any invoices
Just
over
called me a liar and you guys
$30,000.
just left.
Show the bids.
Show the bids.
All right,
Why can't you show the bids? That was my question.
I can show you, I could take you into my office and into our file
It
room
would
and
be
show you
nice
every
if the
bid we've done for the last 20
I'll
years.
read the rest of the week.
You're out of
Mr.
control, sir.
Weaver, Mr. Weaver,
Yeah, very nice. I don't understand.
I appreciate that you want to defend yourself, but we're going to continue with the meeting.
Go for it.
Yes. All right. Does anyone else have comments? Commissioner Becker?
So in the email that we got about that, it was titled under the title 20,
Well, no, that's not,
10,
that's not what I
15.
checked. That's not what this is. This is from, this is not, you going to
The
the wrong-
255?
this- No, this one is, it's right on there. And Amy knows what I'm talking, 287.0.17. That's where the procurement law, it's even, I can give you a break there, because the procurement law in our books is 10,000, the lower one. The new one, it gets revised every 3 years by the state, and the lowest bid, category 1, is now 20,000, which I was gonna ask, how often do we look at our procurement policies? Because the new one, it says 20,000, not 10.
Can I finish my comment?
So,
this time?
but you're reading the wrong
All right,
statute,
so the one that you sent me was 255, so I read into that. So it says on number 6, under the definitions, if the project is undertaken exclusively as part of a public education program, it doesn't apply to that.
Amy, you and I talked about this, please, can you correct
And under
that?
the definitions of chapter 255, I read
And
through every single one.
Go to number 9.
Because I want to be right on
Go
everything.
to-
Yeah,
go-
it says purchase means the purchase of goods, services, or construction services, the purchase or lease of personal property, or the lease of real property by a
That's
local
not what I-
government entity, and we're under number 5, we're under the special taxing district in that. But because under 255.072's definitions of number 6, if it's undertaken exclusively as part of the public education program, then it does not comply. So maybe Ms. Myers could look into that so we can make sure we're doing the right thing.
I have reviewed the statute and I have formed the opinion that the district is exempt from 255.20 because for 2 possible reasons. The clearest one is subsection 8, exemption 8. I don't have the statute in front of me, but my recollection is that sub 8 exempts from application of 255.20 projects that were competitively bid and for which the contract was terminated, but the project still needed to be completed. That the record here, even from an outsider, that appears to be the case here. Exemption 6 also provides an exemption for costs that are exclusively related to a public educational program. Public educational program is not defined by the statute, and reasonable people may disagree on whether this qualifies or not. But again, I don't think there's any argument that all of the costs have been exclusively for the center, which everyone agrees is meant to be an educational
Would the number
element.
8 section apply as well?
That's the one I
It
just
says
read.
if,
Yes.
you did say, oh, okay.
Yes.
That was the first one. I think
Okay.
that's the clearest exemption.
Yeah.
Sub 9 that Ms. Gleason refers to is also an exemption. I don't think it applies here because I don't think the district did any of those things to make it eligible for that exemption. I think, I don't know if in fact you are suggesting that that's the way they should have done it, but it is
Terminate the
it is
contract.
it is an exemption to the statute and not a requirement as to the way it should be done.
But then 287 still, 287. the procurement policy still applies though.
It sure does.
Regardless,
we're under that
even,
definition.
even if she's, no, you're still under procurement.
You have to wait till you have the floor, and you don't, so.
Okay, fine,
Okay.
whatever.
So,
I'm trying to.
Mrs. Myers, are we ready to,
You have two issues on the table before you,
Yes.
and I recommend that you treat them separately.
Okay.
I will say that with regard to the not to exceed amount, I did recommend to staff that they bring you a not to exceed number if they could form an opinion on what, if there was a number that would complete the project, just to give a ceiling to the costs that are being expended.
and they have done that?
It appears that they have done that.
Yes.
I have not provided any oversight as to how they came to that number. I just recommended the action. You will need to take a separate action on whether or not to accept and award the work for the dehumidifier,
yeah, that's the
which
separate.
appears to be in addition to that 310, but I would ask staff to confirm that.
Okay.
So we would need to add the 310 to the 46.
No.
If we approve that.
I think they're two separate
Who's the-
motions.
Treat them as two separate motions.
All
The
right.
310, based on the spreadsheet that's included in your agenda package, does appear to be particular to the displays, whereas the dehumidifier is more structural to the building.
Okay. Commissioner Brandhorst isn't here, can we proceed with a vote, or?
You still have a quorum. You may.
Yeah,
You have a quorum, we can take.
okay. All right, do we have a motion to approve which section? Do we have a motion to approve the expenditure for the dehumidifier? Let's take the easy one first.
I'll make a motion.
I had a question.
Okay.
We didn't get
I'm
to
sorry,
talk about
go
it.
ahead, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So for the dehumidifier, it says they're gonna hang 4 of the humidifiers. How big are these things? The humidifiers from,
question? I'm sorry.
how big are, we're gonna motion to approve or disapprove this, the climate innovations thing, but it says to hang 4 dehumidifiers. How big are they?
You mean size or capacity or
Yeah, size.
size? Probably a little bit smaller than this podium, probably the bottom of the podium.
And it's gonna be as close to the ceiling as possible. Is that gonna interfere with any of our, like, fire sprinkler systems? Like,
No.
that's what I'm worried about, is pipes and anything else getting in the
No,
way.
it'll be just like the HVAC units, they just sit just below the ceiling.
Okay. And then, did we ask other companies about bids?
When we were going out originally, we went with one of our locals that does all the work on our on the HVACs in this facility, and they came back with a quote of $70,000. So when that quote came back at $70,000, it was above the $34,999.99 limit, so it had to go out to bid. I put it out to bid. It was a short bid because I wanted to get it back for the board for this meeting, because we wanted to get it in the facility. And I only got one bid back on that, and that was for the, whatever the amount is. I don't have this
The
paper.
46.
40, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay,
The motion.
So I'll make a motion to approve the Climate Innovations Heating and Air's proposal to install 4 Quest 335 dehumidifiers, and that includes all of the labor as well, not just the parts, right?
okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, all in favor? Opposed? Commissioner Gleason opposed? All right. Do we have an approval, or do we have a motion on the expenditures for the original scope of work on the DVAC center? Do we have a motion?
So what do we want to do with that?
There's a motion.
Do we need to make contracts?
No, at this point,
$310,000 limit.
They're already spending the money, they're just saying that they're capping it at 300.
Motion needed is $310,000 ceiling.
So you're not going to spend a penny more? We hope, right?
I've got a grant.
We're going to try.
right.
Amazing grant.
And that would include everything to finish That was supposed
That
to
we
be,
can
sheet.
anticipate.
that was
sheet.
supposed to be
That
done
we
by
can-
Compass with our turnkey contract. that
In
we
the sheet, yeah.
Correct.
The
have. Okay.
cost.
So do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
All right,
I'll second.
all right. All in favor? Opposed? Commissioner Gleason opposed? Thank you. Dr. Shu,
Okay, thank you. And the season started, and all the surveillance seem to check in, the CTC truck, and they put out a set already. So all the 8 seasonal employee, and they started May 1st. Also, 3, 4 intern from UNF start. There's a lot of volunteers this year. Also, Dr. Joseph declined and retired from Navy and the CDC. He's hired as an entomologist, started March 29. He will be leader of the Department of Education and Applied Research. So our program is the same smoothly, and thank you all employees, hard work. So education, disease vector education started from March 26th open until today. We received 1,310 visitors. So 70% is Xinjiang County residents, about 400 is students. We have 6 school program coming visit field trip, or some home school coming. So we had appointment Monday and Tuesday for school by appointment. The rest open hour from Wednesday 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. until Sunday 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. So every day, average about 45 visitors. So we start lots of positive feedback, also receive some good suggestion. Next month, we'll report back to board, give PowerPoint presentation. We have 1 intern student and did some survey, and that's for his master's degree public health survey, we'll give a report. So that's basically. Also, just talking about everything is except our social security number, medical insurance. Everything is open because public record request anything you need, you want to check, special education center, you want to see our bidding process and our bidding, our process, everything we open. Purchase order, just make appointment, come here, we give you fund space, we provide everything. There's no any confidential, no any secret. That's the government. You spend tax money, not your money, it's our money too. We take care very, very carefully. I do not want to spend 1 penny tax money for nothing. So we just remember that. We bring more business here, bring more grant here. Try to reduce tax. That's the reason our county current tax value per person $18 per year. You only $1.50 per month for mosquito control. Why you can't get this? $1.50, can you buy a cup of coffee? You're looking for reduce again, grant reduce. How to get it reduced? You have to get applied research, get funding, get government funding, so many funding here, industry. They're interested in our work. After our GLP study, since we moved here, about $3 million grant coming. Department of Defense, you can read on the grand open. The Navy commander gave a lecture speech. It's very inspiring. This is a different uniform, but it's very important. If our education center, not only the building, the whole thing, also number 1 in the nation, affected international. So every year we bring lots of business here. I really appreciate former board, current board, believe me, and we're doing the work, keep going on. Mistake we made, and with the company, we're looking for cheap. I find it we spend close that has the painting. But this is there are all paintings, but we have to move forward, move on. I do not believe any commissioner, any company, wrong commissioner come here want to destroy the district, want to break that. Just something more, ask more transparency, and more the cost efficiency, and more procedure. We have something confusing for procedure. Some things, from our study, things on the formal bodies, we authority, I think it's okay, he can do control everything that's about project. Because it's too much busy, we need hand on it, a professional technical service. Really thank you, former board and current board, strong support. We have different idea, different agreement, agree, disagree, that's human nature, nothing wrong about that. Please respect each other. Right? So life is beautiful to shop. We need to work for people. We need to save tax money. If I can reduce tax money gradually get a more role, that's my goal. Next few years, really want to reduce lots of tax money. But how can you do that? You have to throw education. You have to attract the business here, get a grant. Please, they work together. Don't they ask something? Mistake made already. We don't know anything. Nobody want to make a mistake. Just move forward, please. Thank you for your support. Thank you for understanding.
Thank you, Dr. Shu. Mrs. Myers.
You have all received your Sunshine Law manuals. I apologize for that delay. This month, I responded to numerous emails from Ms. Gleason, who put me through my paces to try and get me familiar with the Education Center and to address some of her concerns, particularly about these procurements. So there's been a lot of time spent on this month on review of statutes and review of your files and your minutes. I also participated or responded to Ms. Klein's request to provide an opinion on the audit, and I did that so that she could present it to you today. So the one thing I would like to ask is that if you have an upcoming budget workshop, which I feel like I saw in the minutes somewhere, it might be scheduled for May, I would like to ask for permission to attend that remotely if you need me there. So,
Thank you. Commissioner LeBlanc.
Okay. Well, some of the things I was going to say, I'm not going to because, because actually Dr. Shu had some wonderful reminders in his report. So the grants that have brought a lot of money into the district, which is fantastic, and then how much mosquito control really costs. I think that's a pretty darn good bargain between $20 and $40 annually for the taxpayer. I mean, you can't go out to dinner for that. So, so anyway, I was just pleased that he reminded everyone of that. Basically, I'm just going to keep it short and simple as I typically do. Thank you, all of the staff, for all of your hard work. So that's it.
Thank you. Commissioner Gleason.
So I was wondering how tonight was going to go. I never thought I was going to be called a liar, but it's okay. I'm a big girl. But this meeting I even talked to Rudy about this before. So given what I've been seeing on this board, and given what I've been seeing, whether we have a difference of opinion or not, and the fact that I cannot even get a motion to set up an audit committee, I have no option. I already got the names.
You never asked.
Well, can I make that motion? Will I get the, okay, before I go on, I would like to make a motion that the board consider setting up an audit committee.
We can do that at this point, Ms. Myers?
You can direct me to set up an audit committee. It is consistent with, you are certainly authorized to do it under Florida law. I will need some more direction as to how you will appoint them, and what duties you want them to have.
Or can we,
Can we put that on the agenda for next meeting?
Next meeting, okay.
Yes, that would be good.
So then I'll hold this, I'm gonna make, in full transparency, because this is the only thing I want for St. Johns County, and I don't threaten people. So pending that vote, I already have the DAC Inspector General's information, phone number and email. I already have had discussions with Commissioner Simpson's office. If this board does not appoint an audit committee to provide I can't spend 2 weeks, 6 months getting information. If this board does not appoint an audit committee, I will have no recourse but to send and ask for a joint committee audit. This county, the residents, the taxpayers deserve people to take care of their money. We are not staff, we are an oversight board. So I appreciate everybody working hard, but I work hard too. Yes, Scott?
My understanding is the board already is by nature the audit committee. You choose the auditor reports to you.
That's not what Ms. Myers told us.
Okay.
Ms. Myers, can you
That's-
explain how that works?
From my understanding of
please?
audits, my experience with audits.
What I asked is, do you have an audit committee?
Oh, yeah, well,
And
you
you
told
told
me
me-
how it works in some of the other,
The board, if you do have an audit committee, the board certainly may
I don't
serve
have
as
an
that
audit
audit committee.
I mean,
Mr. Flowers brought it up at one meeting. You all operate in the capacity of what an audit committee does. You guys, even though we bring the RFPs to you, you make the auditor selection and the auditor does report to you. Whether you need to officially have the title, to my
no,
knowledge.
an audit committee usually is independent people from the board providing that oversight. But regardless, then if we don't need one, then I can actually make my email now to the DAC. So if you're saying that our audit committee is this board, is that what you're telling me?
To my knowledge, and I think there might have been some minutes where Mr. Flowers brought that up,
board
because
that
I think
doesn't
at one
have
time the finance committee had too much active control over the auditor, or at least there was a perception of that. But then he mentioned that you, the board, are the audit committee. I remember there was a distinct meeting where he mentioned that, so it'd be all 5 members of the board they act in the capacity of an audit committee. They
Even
do everything
when-
that an audit committee does.
Even though, yes, I do.
So if
I have
there's
a financial
something,
background.
if there's something that Julian Klein finds suspicious, she reports it to you.
Well, she just said that she couldn't find anything because she assumed that they were under contract and those contracts continued. So if she assumed that everything was hunky-dory, there was nothing to find.
And that's where there's the fine line between accounting and legal, and that's where I step out. It sounds like, these are more legal
So
issues.
hence why I think there's a need for a joint committee audit from the state, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Sure, thank you.
And I will be sending that, since we have an audit committee apparently established, I will not wait till the next board meeting. I will just send that email out tomorrow, and I'll copy the appropriate people. So, thank you.
Can I say one more thing? I meant audit committee in the capacity of the financial audit that Julian Klein performs. You're the audit committee in the context of her. As far as like another audit committee with the auditor general, I wasn't talking about that. And maybe when I stepped out, I missed
I
something.
don't even know right now, Scott, I don't
Okay.
know what, do we have an audit, are we the audit committee or not?
For the auditor
You
that
guys-
does the financial statements, to my knowledge, you're the audit committee.
That's not what
Because she
an audit
reports to
committee
you.
is.
For the audit that she did, which is the financial statement audit, which takes place once a year, you act in the capacity of the audit committee for her. There's different kinds of audits, compliance and efficiency and special types of audits. If you're talking about a different type of audit or
Scott, I
something.
hate to cut you off for a second.
Yeah, sure.
But I'm confused. At this point, I'm thoroughly confused as to what you're talking about. Because what I'm talking an audit committee is oversight, somebody that, not everybody on this board has financial background, okay?
Sure.
Somebody that oversees, how do I say it? Makes sure that all policies are being followed, not just Julie, because Julie came in and she says, well, I thought the contract was blah, blah, blah. It's making sure, I can't provide
Okay.
that oversight. I have a financial background, but I can't. I have a full-time job.
And those are different kinds of audits. There's different types of audits.
Let's
So
just
that's where,
not,
okay.
let's,
All right.
let's just, I don't
just
even know
said
where
my
I am at
piece.
this
Okay.
point.
Thank you.
But let's just say that this is the audit committee. I don't feel comfortable that we are providing the oversight. We just keep saying yes, yes, yes to everything that the administration asks for. So I feel compelled, as a responsible citizen, as a responsible official, to get DAC involved, the Inspector General, and ask them to do a joint committee audit of the district.
Isn't that what Balmore did?
Nope, they did, I already verified that. They did not
You
do,
want to weigh in on this or not?
Scott gave him financials, they didn't do a full, and if you want, I can give you the email that I got that said that was not what they did.
Okay. I'd like for Ms. Myers to comment on that.
Ms. Gardner, just, for all of you in the room, Ms. Gleason has the authority to go independently and ask for this. To the extent she was asking this board to conduct its own forensic audit, that would require a tremendous expenditure by the board, and that is not what she's asking. She's trying to go independently, and she may do that. And this board can't stop her. So,
Okay.
now that's not to say that the Joint Legislative Audit Committee will
Will
act
pick
on
it
her
up, yeah, right.
request, but she can certainly make it. So that's all I can provide.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Becker, do you have comments?
Yes, we're getting all geared up for DC, and we're going to be meeting lots of our great legislators and senators across the entire country. And we are also going to be meeting with the CDC leader, so that's going to be a great thing. Hopefully they can give us that money. And for the transparency on my part, we got a letter that said, Dr. Shu, I hope this letter finds you well. I have it on good authority that board members violated their roles as board members by actively engaging in the development and build of the education center without the consent of the board. They abandoned their oversight role and in essence became staff members. Therefore, I am writing to request all communications regarding the education center project that has taken place since the RFP for the education center was put out between the following people: Commissioner Becker, Dr. Shu, Mr. Weaver, Commissioner Becker and Mr. Weaver, Commissioner LeBlanc and Mr. Weaver, and Dr. Shu, Commissioner LeBlanc and Mr. Weaver, Dr. Shu and Mr. Weaver. In my elected official capacity, I believe it is important to have full transparency and I don't know what that word is, so I'm going to skip it. And reporting or something to the information related to the project. I'm particularly interested in any emails, memos, letters, or other forms of communication that have been exchanged between these individuals. I kindly request that you provide me with the copies of these or allow me to review them in person at your convenience. Your cooperation in providing this information is greatly appreciated, and I believe it will contribute to a more informed and engaged public on matters concerning the projects of this nature. Thank you for your attention to this matter. I look forward to hearing from you, Commissioner Gleason. I think the thing that bothers many people is that we all believe in transparency.
Mm-hmm.
We all believe in doing the right thing, and nobody's being nefarious. Nobody's trying to steal money or trying to do anything out of bad will. And I think that's the problem, is maybe that we feel we're being attacked and pointed fingers by some hearsay, like I have good authority that somebody violated. I'm the education chair, and part of my job here is to look over the education part. So that's why I'm involved with that. I love the Constitution. I love being an elected person. I probably will never do it again, but it's a great job because we are protecting the public. We're protecting the public's money, but more importantly, we're protecting their lives, because mosquitoes are life or death. They're not maybes. They're not maybe sometimes. We had 3 cases of malaria already. If we didn't have such a good program, it would go away. And we would not have the quality of life that we have. And so I just wanted to be clear on that. And if you would like to add maybe some purchasing updates so we can fix the problem instead of going on about it, because it's been 6 years since we started it, let's fix the problem so we never have to do it again.
You think that you would have, after all the months that we've been at
Well,
this?
we didn't have a financial
No,
expert like
but what
you.
I'm-
So
no,
if you
no.
want to provide the policies,
Trish,
then we can
Trish,
do it. Nobody's trying
We
to
had a
do
report.
anything wrong.
The last report we had was March. You would think that that report would come in front of the board
Okay,
every
well, you
single
can say
month.
it in your comments later.
So,
But thank you to the staff, and we had a wonderful turnout this year, and I'd especially like to thank the staff at the Education Center, because they have been rocking and rolling with over 45 people a day, and I know that's been pretty difficult, especially because it's only 2 people, 3 people, so 2 people, yeah. So we're probably gonna need to look into that in our budgets for this
Yes,
coming year. 'Cause
I would think.
if we're gonna have people, we need people there.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank
Sorry, one last thing. In case none of you saw it, in the attachments is the very nice letter from what CDR? Colonel?
Oh, Commander.
Commander? Okay.
Commander, that's a Navy rank now.
Okay, so there's a very nice letter from the Department of Navy from Commander Sutherland. If you haven't read it, it's in the attachments part. Thank you.
And on that note, the meeting is adjourned.